One of the biggest mistakes boxers make is believing they need to get rid of fear before they can perform well. You don't. I've boxed amateur with fear, I've boxed pro with fear, I've sparred world champions with fear, I've even trained fighters with fear. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is learning how to box well despite feeling it. If you're waiting to be completely relaxed and confident, if you're waiting to be fearless, you're going to be waiting a long time. One of the biggest lies in boxing is that experienced fighters don't get nervous. They do. The difference is they learn how to function with the fear. In this video, I'm going to explain what fear in boxing actually is, why it's normal, why it never goes away, and most importantly, how to box well even when you're feeling it. Firstly, what actually is fear, and why is it such a taboo subject in boxing? If you say to someone, were you scared? Everyone, no way, I was never scared. I was ready to go, and all that kind of stuff. But it's the biggest lie. Every single fighter feels fear. And I think if you actually change the narrative slightly and replace the word fear with nerves, then a lot more fighters would be willing to say, no, I felt nervous. But for some reason, because of the fighter bravado, we don't want to admit that we were fearful and we were scared. Ultimately, look, boxing is crazy. When you think about it, you're essentially stripping down half naked, getting in your pants, and going to fight someone else one-on-one in front of a crowd of people, whether that's, the gym show, a sold-out arena, on pay-per-view in front of millions around the world. You're stripping down half naked, nearly basically in your pants, and going to fight another human being. That is vulnerable. That is very, very scary. And I'm telling you now, if any fighter tells you they don't feel the nerves, they don't feel the fear, they're either A, a liar, or they're B, a psycho. When I was actively competing, and I used to get a rush of fear and nerves, I used to love reading that cuss quote. Fear is like fire. If you learn to control it, it will work for you. If you don't, it will destroy you and everything around you. And I think that is so true. I'm not afraid to admit that I was probably nervous, sort of fearful every single time I got into a ring. Whether that was amateur, pro, even sparring, I was nervous. I remember that time that I went out to Las Vegas. I went to the Mayweather gym. I was out there for a few weeks for a sparring camp, and that was really nerve-wracking. Coming to the gym, all the heads turned, all the fighters were looking like, fresh meat, English boys. They all wanted a piece of the action. And I remember before the first bell rang, my heart was booming. The thing is though, when I actually stripped it back and I thought about the fear and I thought about the nerves, and I asked myself, what are you actually scared of? I was never scared of being hurt. Like never. I can't say one time I was ever scared of being hurt in the ring. It was more, I was scared of being embarrassed. I was scared of letting people down. That was a big one. I was scared of letting my coaches down. I was scared of letting myself down. But I think embarrassment was the main one that sort of drove the fear home for me. A big part of the embarrassment fear was whatever the bell rings and I go out there, I get hit by the first punch and I just go to sleep. Or probably even worse than that one, it was what if I go out there and I can't lay a glove on him? Like every single shot I'm missing and I'm just chasing shadows. That was a big, fear point for me of being embarrassed. The reality is though, if you lace up them gloves and you get in the ring, there is no embarrassment. It's a sport, it's a contest. Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. Before you jump in the comments and tell me there's draws as well, I know you get the sentiment that I'm trying to put across. Someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. You're not always going to win, you're not always going to lose. But what I'm trying to say is, if you get in the ring, if you're brave enough to put yourself through training, if you're brave enough to get in the ring, there's no embarrassment, win, lose or draw. Boxing's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. The fact that you put yourself in that vulnerable position, you should have huge amount of self-respect and self-pride. So the fear of embarrassment shouldn't really come into it, when you think about it logically. But I'm not silly. Me just saying that, it's not going to make the nerves and the fear go away. But one thing I am going to tell you, nerves, fear, and confidence can all coincide. Fear does not equal poor performance. Remember that. Before we start talking about how to deal with the fear, we need to think about what it actually physically feels like. Because one of the biggest mistakes that beginner boxers make, especially the ones that I train, is they start thinking that there's something wrong with them as soon as they start to feel nervous and they start getting the physical symptoms. I'm going to list some of the physical symptoms that I personally used to experience, and I want you to comment below if you suffer with any of them. Your heart starts racing, your breathing gets shorter, your mouth gets dry, your stomach starts turning, You need to go to the toilet 5 times in 10 minutes. Your hands start tingling. Your legs start feeling heavy. Sometimes you even feel like you want to throw up. I remember sitting in the changing room before amateur fights, thinking that I must be the only person in this room that's feeling like this. I swear to you, sometimes I used to say to myself, maybe boxing's just not for me. I'll be looking around the room, every single person looked calm. Every single fighter in that changing room looked confident. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there wanting to throw up, feeling like my stomach's doing backflips. The worst thing is the physical symptoms ain't even the hardest part. I'll be sitting there mentally overthinking, second guessing, doubting. What if I gas out? What if I can't even land a shot? What if I embarrass myself in front of everyone? What if everyone sees that I'm not as good as I think I am? I remember back in the amateur days, I boxed in a national quarterfinal. It was against a fighter called Adam Harper. He went on to have a very good professional career. He was an English champion. Me and him, we probably boxed maybe like 16 years ago now. We actually went on to be very, very good friends. I went to his wedding. We still talk almost daily. He lives the other side of the country, but boxing has got a crazy way of, turning former opponents into somewhat best friends. But that fight, before that fight, I don't think I've ever been as nervous before in my life. I don't even think I was that nervous before I got married. I hope my wife don't see this video. But looking back, I wasn't scared of getting hurt. I wasn't scared of getting knocked out. I was scared of being embarrassed. I was scared of letting people down. I was scared of letting my trainers down. I was scared of freezing. I was scared of looking stupid. But here's the important thing. None of those feelings mean that you're weak. And none of those feelings equal poor performance. None of those feelings mean that you're not ready. None of those feelings mean that boxing's not for you or you shouldn't be in the ring. They are simply signs that your body is preparing for something that it considers to be important. If you've ever felt your heart racing, if you ever felt sick before sparring, if you've ever doubted yourself before a fight, congratulations, you're normal. So if nerves are normal, the next question logically would be, why do we get nervous in the first place? Most fighters, especially beginners, they think the answer's simple. They think, I'm nervous because I might get hurt or I might get knocked out. But I don't think that's the whole story. Most boxers aren't scared of pain. Let's be honest, every single boxer knows they're going to get hit. You knew that before you signed up. You knew that before your first spar. You knew that before your first fight. So if we all knew that we're going to get punched, why does it still create so much anxiety? I said previously, looking back, I don't think I was ever once scared of being hurt. It was more scared of being embarrassed, man. You know, I was scared of looking stupid, scared of freezing, scared of making mistakes, scared of being vulnerable, being up there, and other people watching me fail. And I think a lot of boxers, especially beginner boxers, they all feel the exact same way. A huge point that we probably don't want to admit is the fear of being exposed. Like, let's be real, we all probably imagine that we're a lot better than we really are. But the thing is, sparring, fighting, doesn't care about your imagination. It reveals the truth. And the thing is, that is very uncomfortable. Sometimes we're not scared of losing. We're scared of finding out how good we actually are. We've also got the fear of letting people down. You know, we've all got expectations, parents, coaches, teammates, sparring partners. When you think about it, the pressure's not really coming from them. It's coming from us. I remember when I was competing, I put far more pressure on myself than anyone ever put on me. Most of these expectations, they only ever really existed inside my own head. The thing with boxing as well is it's uncertain. And uncertainty creates anxiety. Let's be honest, human beings hate uncertainty. That's the thing with boxing. There's a lot of things that are uncertain. We don't know how good our opponent's going to be. We don't know how good we're going to perform. We don't know how well our fitness is going to hold up. We don't know if we're going to be able to take their punches. We don't know how they're going to react to our punches. Everything is unknown, and unknown creates anxiety. And the thing is, beginners feel it a lot more. Beginners think they're super unique with their nerves, but they're not. Beginners are just simply dealing with a lot more unknowns. Think about it. If you're a beginner, you haven't collected enough evidence yet. You haven't sparred enough. You haven't fought enough. You haven't got enough wins. You haven't got enough success. Them little chunks of evidence there, that's what calms your nervous system. So the truth is, most boxers are not scared of being punched. They're not scared of being hurt. Not even scared of getting knocked out. They're scared of embarrassment, failure. They're scared of getting exposed. They're scared of uncertainty. And when you let that sink in and you understand that, you can really start dealing with the real problem. Once you understand why boxers get nervous, you then run into another problem, the trap. And the trap keeps fighters stuck for years. They spend all of their time waiting. They're waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel fearless. They're waiting to feel mentally strong. They're waiting to stop being nervous. I spent years believing that one day I was just going to wake up and I was going to be some super confident fighter. I thought one day I was going to walk into the gym, walk into a venue, walk into the ring and feel no nerves at all. Just stand there, calm, ready to go. But guess what? That day never came. The trap is what I like to call the fake hype trap. Some fighters spend so much energy trying to create fake confidence. They try and convince themselves they're fearless. They tell everybody that they're ready. They try and act tough. They're just putting on a show. Underneath all of that bravado, they're still terrified. Confidence isn't pretending that you're not nervous. It's knowing that you're nervous and performing anyway. The problem with just waiting around is that confidence doesn't arrive first. The action comes first. The experience comes first. The repetition comes first. Then the confidence follows. Any meaningful fight that I ever had, any meaningful sparring event that I ever had, any big opportunity that I ever got, I had nerves beforehand. If I had waited until I felt fearless, I would have never have done any of them. I went to Las Vegas, I went to the Mayweather gym, I went over there on a sparring camp. If I waited to be ready, I'd still be waiting now. I box live on BT Sport. Fear doesn't disappear before performance. Performance comes before confidence. Let me say that again. Performance comes before confidence, not the other way around. The fighters that improve the most aren't the ones that don't feel fear. They're the ones that feel it, accept it, and perform anyway. The biggest trap in boxing is feeling that your nerves and your fear might just disappear one day. They probably won't. They're never gonna go. The real breakthrough happens when you accept it, stop waiting for confidence, and just focus on your preparation. So if just waiting around for your confidence doesn't work, what actually helps? What can you realistically do if you struggle with nerves before sparring and fighting? In my experience, there's actually a few things that will help, but I'll be honest, none of them are going to get you TikTok famous. The first one is preparation. Nerves love uncertainty, but preparation gets rid of it. If you've done the rounds, you've done your road work, you've done your sparring, you've ticked all the boxes, you give yourself some real evidence. You might still feel nervous, but at least then you know deep down that you've done the work. The times when I felt the worst nerves weren't normally when I was like underprepared or I didn't train hard enough. They were when I started questioning and doubting whether I'd done enough. Focus on your fitness. Good conditioning doesn't remove fear, but it gives you one less thing to worry about. If you know you're fit, you know your engine's not going to give out. It's just one less thing in your mind that you're going to have to worry about when you go into battle. Get some experience. Experience is huge. The first time you get in for sparring is terrifying. The 50th time, it's not the same. The first time you fight feels terrifying. The 10th time, it's not so worrying. It's not because the nerves and the fear have disappeared, but it's because you've got enough evidence that you know that you can get through it. Focus on your breathing. One thing I'm big on teaching is breathing. When we get nervous, our breathing gets a lot more shallow. Our body starts believing there's a lot of danger imminent. Slowing your breathing down, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, it sends the opposite message to your body. A method that I like to teach to all my boxers that I train: breathe in through the nose for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and then breathe out through the mouth for a count of 4. When you do this, repeat this 3 to 4 times, and it's really going to regulate your breathing. It's really going to regulate your nervous system. It's going to help you just settle down and get ready to go out there and perform. Focus on your routine. Another thing that helps is having a routine. Go through the same process, the same prep, have the same warm-up. Having a routine gives your brain something familiar that you can just focus on. If sparring nerves, fight nerves, or just general boxing anxiety is something that you really struggle with, I'll put together a guide called Overcoming Sparring and Fight Nerves. It's based on my own experiences as an amateur fighter, a professional fighter, and a coach, and it goes much deeper into the practical strategies that I use with people that struggle. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. And if you found this video useful, subscribe to the channel. We've only scratched the surface on this topic. Remember, you're not weak, you're not broken. Don't think boxing's not for you. You are not the only boxer that feels this way. Chances are the person standing in the opposite corner is feeling the exact same way as you. I'll see you on the next one.